This meeting of the City Council will come to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Counsel Della Sola. Counsel DeFlorio.
Here.
Counsel Hanlon. Counsel Mangan. Counsel Marchese. Counsel McKinnon. Counsel Napolitano.
Here.
Counsel Sachetta.
Yeah.
Counsel Sani. Counsel Simonelli.
Present.
Counsel Capone. 7 members present.
7 members present. We do have a quorum. Please stand and salute the flag.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have some regrets. Council
We all-
President Fred,
We all.
God. Fred Capone is unable to attend due to a family commitment. Council Richard Della Sola has a work commitment. Council Leo McKinnon will not make meeting. He is on a trip to Washington. And Councilor Cynthia Sani will be arriving late. I would like to wish a happy birthday to our Councilor Michael Marchese. His birthday's tomorrow. Happy birthday.
Birthday.
The clerk will read the first order of business.
First order of business is order sponsored by Counsel Fred Capone as president. 12 persons interested in the order to adopt the amended administrative code in accordance with section 5-1 of the Everett Home Rule Charter.
Madam Chairman, could we open up the public hearing on this piece?
Second. Open up to a public hearing. I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. I believe we have a presentation.
No.
No, not for public.
Okay. Would anybody like to speak? I'm going to ask 3 times. If anybody would like to speak on this in favor? Anybody would like to speak in favor? Everybody would like to speak in favor? Seeing none, that portion is closed. Anybody like to speak against? Would anybody like to speak against? Anybody like to speak against? Seeing none, that portion is closed.
Madam Chairman, I'd like the motion to send this piece to the next meeting of the City Council.
Motion to send this piece to the next meeting of the City Council. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to open up the, oh, excuse me, jumping the gun. I apologize.
Item number 2 is an order sponsored by Counsel Fred Capone as president. 12 parties interested in the order to submit the Lower Broadway Urban Renewal Plan to the Department of Housing and Community Development for final approval.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to open up the public hearing for this piece.
I have a motion to open up public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
They've got a,
Is this something about Lower Broadway?
but does this come in a presentation, a public hearing?
We're going to do the presentation, and then,
We actually have a motion
And
on
then
the
you could
floor
ha-
to
you
open the
could
public
speak.
hearing. There's a motion seconded on the floor for the public hearing.
the clerk has advised me that we could.
Still have a motion on the floor. Motion made in second.
So should we go through with the public
I
hearing?
have a motion on the floor for a public hearing, so we're-
Yeah, go ahead. Take the motion. Take the, if they're not going to withdraw it, take the vote.
I'll withdraw my motion if the presentation is going to lend some information on this. you know.
okay. So do we have a motion on the table to have a presentation?
Motion made to have a presentation.
I have a motion made to have a presentation. I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Good evening, everybody. Dave Rodriguez, Assistant City Solicitor. This is a matter that's before you again. This is something that was brought up to the council last year, and as promised, that if there were any amendments, major amendments made to the urban renewal plan, it would be brought back before you for a revote and for your reconsideration. So we have Russ Burke from BSC Group who helped us prepare the plan, who can go through each of the elements of the plan and some of the background information. But this is essentially the same exact plan that was voted on last year with some changes. It no longer includes the Monsanto property that was taken out of the plan. It adds in a commercial property at the corner of Beecham and Broadway that is needed because of the re-engineering and the design of the enhanced intersection there. And also it adds in all municipal land in the Lower Broadway district. This was done for a variety of reasons, which we can expand on. But the long and the short of it is that it allows the city to control its own destiny as its economic development future moves as it progresses and becomes more clear. So if it's the council's wish for us to proceed with the full presentation, we're happy to do that. Again, this is essentially the same plan that was executed before with those minor changes. Well, major changes because it's before you tonight. So we can go whichever way the council wishes, and we'll defer to your judgment on how much information you want or how much information you need.
Council Mangan?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Rodriguez, other than what you just mentioned, the corner of Beecham and Broadway, was it Beecham and Broadway?
Yeah, so on the slide that's on the screen now, this, if you're wondering some of the major changes that are
Yes, that's what I'm actually
precipitating
looking,
this is some of the precipitating events were the casino was granted by the Massachusetts Gaming Commission to Wynn Resorts, allowing them to open up the property down on Lower Broad that was previously identified. That purchase, following the execution of the license and the granting of the license by the Gaming Commission, they executed their option. They purchased a property that's now solely in the hands of Wynn. There was a private purchase of the MBTA property, which is now in escrow between the MBTA and Wynn Resorts. Again, the addition of city-owned property, the Line Street Park and the adjacent parking lot that's there, and the addition of the, quote, Fancy Nails property as a possible acquisition parcel included within there. This is allowed for a significant reduction in the estimated budget of the urban renewal plan at full execution.
No, if I may,
Madam Chairman, if I may, this piece is before us in the form of a public participation. In a public participation,
no,
that
we get to ask
precludes...
questions. We haven't opened it up to a public thing yet.
No, but we're still here on item number 2, and as a result of it being here, as a result of item 2, that precludes the city council from asking questions during the presentation. I would prefer to hear the presentation start to finish uninterrupted. And I believe that is within our rules. This is here for one piece. Public participation doesn't call for the presentation. I'm very interested in the presentation because it's going to provide us with additional information. But I would say that asking questions in the middle of the presentation, this is not the correct
Excuse me,
piece.
Madam
Okay,
President.
no cross debate. Maybe the best thing is as you go along, because
Right.
it might make it a little bit easier for people to understand, Counselor, but
It should be under public participation.
It's not.
it's not.
It is.
We
It's
haven't
under
opened
public
it,
hearing.
Public hearings.
Right.
but we haven't opened it to a
Opened it up.
public hearing yet.
We have not opened it up
Excuse me,
to
no
a
cross
public hearing
debate.
yet.
Madam Chairman, in a public hearing, we do not ask the public questions. If the Assistant City Solicitor is here with a presentation for us on this piece, I'm fine with that. But being under public hearing, precludes us from being able to ask questions. If we can't ask questions during a regular public hearing, this is no exception. I'm just asking that we get the presentation and then move on to the public hearing. That's it.
I'm going to ask the city clerk to make that ruling.
Please.
Go ahead, Bob.
The chair's in doubt.
I mean, I think it's the wishes of the council. I mean, I know that it's a public hearing. The presentation is being done for the purpose of the public. Whether, and I think this is the public's opportunity to speak, but whether it precludes the council from asking questions, I mean, that would be the wishes of the body. I don't think there's a rule that says that they can't. It's what the council so desires. I mean, it is a public hearing, and that's who's here, whose remarks we're supposed to be getting is the public.
Based on that, then, I would motion that we proceed on this piece with the presentation and then at the conclusion of the presentation, if the council has further questions, we refer it to committee where we can ask the questions, and if not, then we open up the public hearing and proceed.
A second on that motion.
I do, I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No,
Roll call.
Madam
Counsel-
President,
Counsel
before the
DeFlorio.
roll call.
No.
you're wrong.
It's already been passed.
Counselor Hanlon,
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, change my vote, no.
Counselor Mangan,
No.
Counselor Marquez.
Excuse me, Francis, the yes is to what? To ask questions?
Not to ask questions.
To not to ask
Until the
questions?
presentation's over.
No's to ask him. if we
No.
go
Oh,
along.
okay, yes, not to ask questions.
Counselor Napolitano,
Yes.
Counselor Sachetta,
Yes,
Counselor Simonelli.
Yes.
4 yeas, 3 nays.
Okay,
Madam
the order,
Chairman.
the order is passed. So we'll go through the presentation.
In its entirety? Or would you like the truncated version? In its entirety. I'm going to ask if it's okay with the chair, I'm going to ask Russ Burke to join me at the podium. He's one of the consultants we use to craft the plan. He's a renowned expert in urban renewal planning. And he's very well versed and can articulate some of the items much better than I can. Tony Souza is on his way. We had a technical glitch, so we have copies of their plan for everybody. We wanted to get it in full color.
I'm sorry, what was the name again? I didn't get it.
Russ Burke.
Invite Russ Burke up. All in
Motion to have
favor?
Mr. Burke come before us.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
So in general, following the slide, just to recap, the changes to the urban renewal plan included the casino granting to Wynn Resorts, the purchase of the Monsanto property thereafter, the private purchase of the MBTA property, which is now in escrow, the addition of the city-owned property into the plan, and a resulting significant reduction in the estimated budget of the URP. You'll see on this slide, which will be included in the plan as Figure G1. These are the parcels that were targeted for acquisition, not meaning that they were slated to definitely be acquired within the plan that was approved by this body back in 2014. You can see the parcels that were identified with the hash marks. You can now see this is the part of the plan that's before you tonight, which is now Figure G1 in the most up-to-date plan. You can see a significant reduction in the slated parcels with the changes that were described in the first slide. Again, this is just to illustrate the differences between 2014 and 2015. You can see the parcels that were slated for disposition, not acquisition. This is the overall concept map that was produced back in 2014 that showed it had different overlays of things that were consistent with the Lower Broadway master plan and part of the revitalization effort of the Lower Broadway. What we thought this was going to look like if an urban renewal plan was fully executed based upon, and it was developed in accordance with the Lower Broadway master plan and the underlying zoning.
Right, and one of the glitches was that the state did not want us at that point in time, as the State Gaming Commission had not made a determination as to the license. They wouldn't let us go with Plan A or Plan B. We had to pick a plan. So we chose this plan showing the generic mixed-use development on the staging area as a generic type of proposal that would cover both a non-casino or as well as a casino type of use. Now that the Gaming Commission has issued a license, this plan shows the proposed footprint of the casino resort proposal. Additionally, we show some development along the surplus MBTA property that might take place. But again, this is a very conceptual type of plan.
And again, this would be consistent with the documents I received from the supplemental final environmental report, which was filed pursuant to the MEPA plan. Here's Tony. You can also see on this, you can see the re-engineered intersection at the intersection of Beecham Street and Broadway, which is the current site of a McDonald's. We've all seen the building that exists on the eastern border of that with the bollards in front that continually gets hit. We're still helping with the design and the engineering of that intersection. It would work best without that building there, but we can make it work with it still existing there, with significant challenges that may exist. This is a financial comparison. I'll let Russ break this down a little bit in more detail, but it balances off the difference between 2014, the plan that was approved by the body in 2014, and the plan that's before you this evening.
As part of the plan, the state does require that an estimate in terms of the best, our best estimate at the time as terms of what the estimated cost would be, the uses of funds, as well as what the likely funding would be. And as you can see, the cost that we presented previously to the city, which included the acquisition of the Monsanto property as well as the MBTA, a portion of the MBTA property, brought the estimated cost up to $78 million and change. We in turn estimated that another $78,000 and change of funding would be available. A good portion of that would be the disposition of said Monsanto and MBTA property. The net project cost being north of $50,000. As a result of the elimination of the Monsanto property and the MBTA property, as that has been privately purchased and no longer necessary as part of the urban renewal plan, the estimated cost has dramatically dropped less than 50% of what the original cost was. Accordingly, the estimated funding that's required has been dropped from $78,000 to $30,000, and showing an estimated project surplus of $800,000. And again, these are our best estimate at the time, and hopefully will ring true.
I do want to note, however, this is not a funding plan, and this is not a request for funding or an appropriation. This is as part of the urban renewal planning process. We're required to submit to the state and to DHCD a plan to fund based upon how much things would cost. We understand that's very fluid. This is not, and again, this is not an ask for funding this evening. This is for an approval of the plan and the concept behind the urban renewal and revitalization efforts down on Lower Broadway. The next steps for the urban renewal plan tonight, the public hearing and subsequent approval of the urban renewal plan, approval by the mayor consistent with the charter, an opinion from the city solicitor's office that would be submitted to DHCD. We've crafted this plan hand in glove with DHCD. They're fully aware of the process. They're fully aware of the amendments to it. They're fully aware that this has been previously approved by the city council. And it's viewed very favorably by DHCD and as a very good plan that was crafted by Russ and by Tony's office. And subsequently, we have prepare environmental notification forms and file with MEPA. And I think Russ can clarify in that process whether it's the city or the private developers that file with them.
This would be filed by the city, and the purpose of that is to basically set forth what the general environmental impacts would be, but also we use this process to ensure that the city is not responsible for individual projects that may have impacts that warrant the preparation of full environmental impact reports, which would be borne by private developers and not the city. The filing with MEPA is a requirement. It is not a prerequisite for the state to approve it, but we highly recommend that it be done as part of the process as well.
Let's skip over that one for now. But that's the extent of it. If you have any questions offline and outside of the meeting, please feel free to contact Tony Souza. He's been instrumental in crafting the amendments to the plan, and this has been done hand in glove with the with EPD, the Everett Planning and Development Department, not the Police Department. So you can ask any questions that you may have down them, and I'll defer back to the chair on how to proceed.
Ms. Rodriguez, is the order in front of us tonight?
The order was previously.
Is the order in front of us for approval as well tonight?
The order was previously submitted as for an approval. And it was combined, it was hopefully, there's nothing precluding the public hearing from going in parallel tracks to the order. I can't say whether that was made clear to the council, but it was the intention for this to be voted on tonight, if properly before the council, as it was previously submitted to the council for approval through an order.
Okay, thank you. Excuse with any, I'm sorry if I'm out of line, but to me, I feel like some of the councils are not here, and I really believe we have a lot of questions here. So my recommendation is that we send it to a committee as a whole, so everybody has the right. Oh, the public hearing first.
Madam
Yeah,
Chairman,
but they were asking questions now. I know we gotta do the public hearing.
Madam Chairman, on
Just
the
a
piece,
recommended,
I agree with you. I think we need to do the public hearing this evening, and then refer it either to the next meeting, where the councilman, where the absent councilman can ask the questions, or a committee, whichever the body feels is more appropriate. I think it's a great plan. I have no problems with it, but there are members who are missing here, and again, I just wanted to make sure that we got the presentation unfiltered, without any coaching or prompting, and I believe that's exactly what we got, and I want to thank you.
yeah, so if we can refer it to the next meeting, I think we can ask all the questions that you want, but to ask the questions tonight and then the next meeting, I believe is a little confusing. That's my recommendation, but it's
Madam
up to the
Chairman?
body.
We just took a motion and a vote earlier that said that there will be no questions asked during the presentation, but there would be afterwards. So we voted for that already. So if there's anybody here that has a questions, I think they should ask.
I leave it up to the board. I have no problems.
That was my interpretation as well. So I would make it as a motion that we open up the questions from the city council prior to going to a...
Public hearing. Okay. Counselor Mingan?
Thank you, and like I said, thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm not against what the council has in terms of referring it to it, but we don't know who's going to be available at that committee of the whole. I mean, I may not be available, Councilor Hanlon, yourself may not be available, so to try to get everybody back on another night, especially we got the budget meeting coming up in a couple weeks and stuff, so it's going to be hard to, I mean, I don't know when we're going to be able to schedule this. The only really question I had is that, Mr. Rodriguez, is getting back to the original question, is that, other than that property you talked about at the, down on the corner of Beecham and Broadway, what other significant properties? I mean, it didn't look like there was a big change on there. What other significant properties would be changing? Other than, I know, taking away the wind and stuff, subtracting the wind, but adding that building is a possibility. Are there any other?
That's a huge change in terms of size and scope as it relates to the plan. Like I said, we're adding in the property located at 127 Broadway at the corner of Beecham and Broadway, and the adding in of municipal property that's owned down there to give the city greater flexibility in terms of determining its own future, and viewed through the larger economic development vision for that area, and allow us to operate at the speed in which business is determining that it should happen. It should be noted, and I just want to clarify these terms because this is something we discussed in greater depth last year. Just because something's marked for acquisition does not mean that it's going to be acquired. Just because something's marked for disposition does not mean it's going to be disposed
Right.
of. The
It means it's
redevelopment,
possible.
it's a possibility. It defines the terms in which the redevelopment authority can act.
Okay.
And that's a very important thing to realize, is that you're voting on a concept. You're not voting on a course of action.
Right.
And necessarily that falls to the redevelopment authority.
That's the only question I had. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chairman.
Counselor McKasey?
Attorney Rodriguez, regarding the park, now, is the park under trust? How would we obtain that piece of property? How would anybody obtain that piece of property?
Well, there is a process to do that. And that would be a process that we'd have to avail ourselves of through the charitable trust division of the Attorney General's office. It's called the Cypre petition.
Yep.
The history lesson, Cypre means as good as. So we'd have to show that either the purpose of the gift has been frustrated or that we're going to replace it somehow. We think we can do both in terms of how that park is utilized, how that park is used, the location of that park, and in the Lower Broadway Master Plan, which was executed quite a while ago, we showed that park moving. We want to put parks where the people are. We don't want to necessarily always have to bring people to where the parks are, in the shadow of a power plant, in somewhere where might not be a great place to play. When that park was gifted, served a vital purpose. It was perfect for what it was being used for, but times change, and we think that the city should change with it.
Would the park be built first before it was
I don't know the
built?
answer to
Or
that
how
question.
would that work? That's,
Yeah,
you know.
I don't know that, and we're still identifying that, and we're still executing that, but like I said, this is a concept. It's not necessarily a course of action that's going to, has a shelf life. A urban renewal plan has a 20-year lifespan. So this allows us the options to execute plans in a larger sense, not just in a vacuum, one thing at a time. So we're able to do that, and this is just one step in that process.
So what we'd be doing tonight was agreeing to the zoning changes that you have before us?
Well, no, there's no zoning changes. The zoning's already been changed in that.
Zone's
in that
already
area.
been changed,
Yeah,
okay.
the zoning, the way that the process usually goes is that we executed the master plan, which is, if you think about it in terms of altitude and detail, a master plan is 50,000 feet above the ground. You can see things in a larger
Yep.
sense in that, and as you start to hone down, we did our zoning, which was a little closer to the ground. The urban renewal plan starts identifying parcels, so it starts getting more granular in terms of its detail. So we're moving along in the more traditional planning and economic development process in order to do that. But like I said, this is a concept. It lasts for 20 years. It's not saying that we have to do anything. It just gives us more options to control how economic development comes to the city and we're able to develop with it.
Okay. So some of these new height restrictions are already in place?
They're already in place.
Okay,
They're already
so
in place.
what are we trying to agree with here tonight?
You're agreeing with the concept behind the plan. That this
concept
is-
behind-
yeah,
okay.
That revitalization is necessary in that region. And this is something that the council has already agreed to by overwhelming margin back in 2014, which seems like a lifetime ago,
Yep.
because so much has happened since then. But because of the speed of things that are going on, and Russ can explain a lot of the history behind urban renewal and revitalization efforts and how things have historically changed over time and how municipalities use that in order to encourage economic development and develop things for their own benefit in a greater sense.
Thank you very much. That's fine.
Counselor Hanlon?
Excuse my back. The slide that said the next steps, there was a line that said state approvals. My question is, what state approvals do we need, and will we have a hard time getting them?
No. The answer, to answer your second question before the first question, no. We feel that this is going to be a very smooth process with the Department of Housing and Community Development, whose approval is required. They've been fully appraised of this process since we started, and they've been supportive of those efforts ever since we started. Russ can speak a little bit more about some of the other state approvals, but that's generally the answer.
In fact, the last communication we had from the state, they commented that they found this plan to be one of the best plans they have read, and suggested they're going to be using this as an example for other communities when they do urban renewal plans,
Thank you. That's-
which I
Thank you.
compliment
Okay, thank
the city as well as myself.
Why call it,
That's, Russ is being very humbled. He's done extraordinary work on this plan and,
Give that back.
and very, well, he's done a lot of hard work as Tony has, and the mayor has really given us broad latitude to execute the vision and execute the plan down there. And this is something we're very proud of, something that's long overdue, and something we definitely want to, we're anxious to and eager to start working on.
Excuse,
any further
this is
question? No, I have another council.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Any further questions? Councilor Napolitano is next.
Thank you. I just want to kind of piggyback on something Councilor Marchese had asked about, and that's the lines, going back and talk about a little about the Line Street Park. I've represented that area actively for the last 15, 16 years, and of course, you know, we're always concerned what goes down there. And we've heard a lot from people who utilize the park about the proximity where it is, the condition it's in, and, you know, I have no issue with it being replaced. But I just want to ask, first of all, I remember back when we were having to appropriate land to build additional schools. At that time, we were required to replace public land 2 for 1. Does that requirement still exist?
This is not, that's under Article 97 of the Massachusetts Constitution. That would not apply in this particular sense, because it was not acquired by the city in that process. So Article 97 would not apply.
So the city could take, or the city can utilize that property in another means without being required to replace it?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any plans to at least put a playground of some sort for the residents, the roughly 300 families that live down there, to still have some type of access that they can go to that doesn't preclude them to going over the rotary?
There are lots of plans, anything, but nothing has been finalized yet. Consistent with the Lower Broadway master plan, it called for the park to be moved further up to where the houses are, more toward north of Beecham, to that area where we think we can utilize some area over there, but we're far from finalizing anything. But like I said, these are options to do that, to fully realize the conclusions that were made within the master plan that was done with the full participation of the public. And one of the things that we heard time and time again, it's a tough park to get to. It's a tough park to play at. It's a tough park to use, and it's a kind of in a tough spot to fully
I'm not
maximize.
disputing any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with a lot of that. I just want to make sure that because it's still an isolated section of the city, that the residents there still have something in mind to replace it. That's all.
Yeah, and one of the, just to make a quick point, and I hate to step on Russ's toes because he's very much smarter than I am. The waterfront park that was negotiated within the host agreement with Wynn was key to that point. And although it doesn't include a tot lot or playground or anything, having green open space as part of that you wouldn't have to travel through the casino to get, and to activate that part of the waterfront to connect a greater park along the Malden River was critically important to us as we did it. So important that we made them put it in the host agreement. So we want to activate that for use by everybody, not just that, and we don't want you to have to go anywhere near a casino or a hotel or a bar or any of that in order to get to it. So that was part of our calculus, and it kind of illustrates how we're viewing the planning in that area. We're viewing it as the urban renewal plan, but we're also viewing as what we're kind of get and where we are, what we're going to get, and where we want to go in terms of a more holistic approach of how the DCR property relates to the Wynn property, relates to Line Street Park, relates to the greater neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. I'm just picturing the young mother with taking 3 kids in tow. You know, we're looking at, if we consider Line Park right now further away from the residential portion, the property and the green property on Wynn's side is even further out. And again, it's requiring them to cross Lower Broadway. You know, I mean, we had a lot of difficulty with the state in establishing, just to be able to get an extra crossing light down there when they were designing it. And they were arguing with that on that. And at that time, the only convenience store, the only place you could get a gallon of milk down the line was to cross the parkway and go to the convenience store next to the Dunkin' Donuts. So, you know, being able to have people with kids, with small kids, drag them across Lower Broadway, walk over to there, that's a concern. Having something they can bring them to in the residential area of those towns makes, in that area, seems to make more sense.
Yeah, we haven't finalized any plans,
Okay.
but that's certainly something that we kept in mind as we were developing the master
Please.
plan. And, you know, we always have our eye on the ball when it comes to making sure people have a good place to go in terms of green and open space.
All right, thank you.
Counsel Simonelli?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. To you, to Mr. Rodriguez.
Council.
I'm looking at here the parcels to be acquired, okay? Now they're saying they want to take over the Everett Redevelopment Authority wants to take over McDonald's. They want to take over the gas station, the liquor store, Dunkin' Donuts. Where am I looking at? And the park, the Line Park down there. Now, is that going to be done by eminent domain, the city taking over these parcels?
Well, just to be clear, the ability to acquire does not mean the plan to acquire. So the Dunkin' Donuts, the gas station, those have already been privately acquired and will be used by Wynn for their approach. So those are placed in there as a backstop. Eminent domain, and just to, because that's kind of always, with these discussions, it's always the 600-pound elephant in the room. Eminent domain is a means of last resort. It's something that we will not use unless it is the absolute last step and the market does not allow a parcel to be acquired by any other means. This is not, and this is a conversation we had greater when, before the Common Council, before the Board of Aldermen, before this body, because the greater fear is always the west end of Boston. And everybody always saw that, and that's the nightmare scenario. So much so that the law was changed so that can never happen ever again. Russ has much more experience in the execution of these plans. He can speak about how often eminent domain is used in these processes, but I will say it's a means of last resort. It's not something that we're going to do unless it's absolutely necessary and it obstructs the critical path to the development of that area of the city.
Do these you know, go to McDonald's. Do they want to be bought out, more or less? Do they have
That's
a
not-
right to stay there if they want? I mean, I understand that Wynn's buying these places. I mean-
Some of them, not all of them.
Well, I know, I got it right here, but they can take over the Dunkin' Donuts, the liquor store, the gas station, McDonald's, Neil Saloon, and probably Lynn Park. But, like I say, I don't know why they, you know, I knew this was gonna happen anyway. I think by eventually, even with this plan coming into effect, I think, the wind parcels indirectly is gonna take care of all of this, even the proposed Everett part of the urban Lower Broadway. So I don't really appreciate that, what they're doing, but I see big business again getting involved and taking all these little shops away that's been there for so many years, and I don't think it's right what they're doing down there. Okay, that's my opinion. Thank you.
Counselor, I believe that they're being bought, not being taken. I believe, is that, maybe the assistant?
Well, I'm saying we haven't even got to that point yet.
Yeah, okay.
That no decisions have been made regarding the acquisition of any, this gives us the ability to do it.
Right, but I'm
It's
sure
not a
it's gonna
plan
happen.
to do
You
it.
know it. You know what's gonna happen.
I don't know what's gonna
Well,
happen.
we don't know,
I wish I did,
Well,
but I
look.
don't know what's gonna happen.
Well, you
Okay.
don't know, but you do know. But
Any other questions?
that's okay. Thank you.
No, make a motion to excuse with customary thanks, thank
you.
you. Do I
Madam
have a
Chairman, motion to open up the public hearing?
I have a
Second.
motion to open up the public hearing, and I do have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it. I'm gonna ask 3 times who's in favor, and then 3 times who's opposed. Anybody in favor of this order? Anybody in favor of this order? Anybody in favor of this order? Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing will be closed. Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? Seeing none,
Move to
that portion
close.
is closed.
Move to close, Madam Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
Wait, I don't need a motion.
No, we
It's
don't need-
already closed.
okay.
Yeah. What is your pleasure, councilors?
Peter, do you want to send it off to the committee?
Anybody can make a motion. Wait,
See,
so-
the original, the council Napolitano and yourself had talked, well, considering there's not, some of the councils are not here tonight, send it to a committee of the whole.
Or you could also send it to the
Second.
next meeting of the, you want to call a special meeting as a whole, or do you want to send it to the next council meeting?
The motion he made was to send it to a committee of the whole. I'll second it.
So you want to
Yeah,
call for a
that's
special
fine.
meeting?
Yeah.
Just on
in
this
case-
piece?
Just in case it gets really in-depth and people, you know, like I said, and sitting here and, we could be here for an hour or so and.
Okay, so the motion is to send it to a committee as a whole, and I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I passed. So you have referred item number 2 to committee as a whole. I'd like to read this before it gets too late. Michael, you want to read this? Or do you want me to read it? I can read it.
The Mayor's Office of Veteran Services would like to invite all the city citizens to the Memorial Day services be held May 25th at Glenwood Cemetery. We'll meet at 9:30 and march into the gazebo at 10 a.m. as a community to honor the sacrifice of our men and women who gave us all for the freedom we enjoy here today. Reminded volunteers in need to help place flags on the graves of our veterans at Woodlawn Cemetery this Sunday, the 17th at 9 a.m. They will meet in the parking lot behind the chapel.
Thank you.
Open up to public participation.
Motion made, open up for public participation.
Second.
I have a motion on the table to open the public participation. I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion,
I don't think there was anything on the sign-in sheet, so unless anybody else wants to come up.
nobody on the sign-in sheet. Would anybody like to do public participation? Would anybody like to speak?
Seeing none, I'll move to close public participation.
I have a motion to close public participation. I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. You've closed public participation. Yes,
Mr.
See, do we, I see we have some appropriations here tonight. Do we need 8 votes for all these appropriations?
Yes,
If we do,
Counselor.
then I'd like to make a motion to lay anything that has an appropriation 9, 10, 11,
12, 13.
12, 13,
I'm sorry, 12, not
okay,
9, 10,
12, what else?
11, 12,
14. Nope, nope, nope.
Is 18
That's a transfer.
transfer, we can do that?
18, we can't pass until we pass the order at the next meeting.
Okay, so should we take those collectively and refer those to the next meeting?
Second.
I have a motion to take items 9, 10, 11, 12, and 18 and refer to the next meeting. Is that correct? I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. We have referred items number 9, 10, 11, 12, and 18 to the next meeting.
Madam Chairman, if we
Which
could
would
take...
be on May 26th, because I believe Monday is, the 25th is Memorial Day.
If we could take item number 17 off the calendar. We have a sign-in sheet here.
I have a motion to take item number 17 off the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read item number 17.
Item number 17, resolution sponsored by Council Michael K. Marquez, the Water Department to reduce all abatements issued 2013-2014.
Madam Chairman, we have Mr. Navarro, the head of the City Services Department here, if anybody would like to, I guess some people from the Water Board there, the City Services Board are not available, so I know Mr. Navarro is here to speak. So if anybody would like to him,
Michael, I'm sorry, Councilor Marquez.
Yep, that's my piece. I'm satisfied what I have. I believe you can refer that back to sponsor. But I would also like you to take item number 14 off the calendar after this piece, because it's related to
I'll second his motion and refer it back to sponsor. Number 17.
Okay, I have a motion to refer this back to sponsor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Item 17 referred back to sponsor.
And I'll
I
second
have a
his motion to take 14 off the calendar.
I have a motion to take item number 14 off the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All
All we
opposed? The
worked on
ayes have it.
last year was the correct terms agenda.
Item number 14 on the agenda
Got pegged on it a lot.
is an order sponsored by Councilor Fred Capone as president to transfer $200,000 from the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund certified retained earnings into the sewer and stormwater repairs account for sewer and stormwater infrastructure.
Councilor Marquez?
Yeah, Mike, I'm sorry.
If you would
For
like
this, we
someone.
need 8 votes for this as well?
Yes. No. Transfer is a
That's a
majority.
Majority, okay.
Is that suspend rules? We suspend Rule 17. 13. Which one?
I think it's 20, isn't it?
Just move. Favorable action. Oh, a new one, I don't know what the new one is.
Is that what you were asking? What did we waive? Yeah, okay.
Motion made to suspend Rule,
Second.
Rule 13.
Second.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Favorable action.
Second.
Favorable action on order. Roll call.
Council DeFlorio.
Yes.
Council Hanlon.
Yes.
Council Mangan.
Yes.
Council Marquez.
Yes.
Council Napolitano.
Yes.
Council Chata.
Yes.
Council Simonelli.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays. Madam Chairman.
7 yeas, 0 nays. You have passed.
Excuse me, I know we referred a lot of the stuff to the next meeting, but we have Mr. Viscay. There was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 18. What were those pieces? Were all those the pieces?
Those all go into the next,
No, I'm just asking if there's anything else that he's here on.
those are all going to the next meeting.
All
because
6 of
we-
them?
Yes,
Okay, no,
9,
'cause
10,
he's-
11, 12, and 18.
Okay, because he signed in on 13 also, that's why. Oh, 14, okay, so he's all set. Thank you.
Anybody else on the sign-in sheet? Clerk will revert back, I'm sorry.
Motion to suspend the rules, take item 23.
I have a motion to suspend the rules, take item 23. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The clerk will read item number 23.
Item number 23 is resolution sponsored by Council Peter A. Napolitano, Council Fred Capone, Council John Leo McKinnon, Council Michael Marquez, and Council Sal Vittorio Sachetta, that the Legislative Affairs Committee draft an order based on Section 8-4 of the Charter, that a referendum be placed on a municipal ballot this November 2015, asking for voters' input to spend up to $88 million over the next 5 years to convert the old Everett High School into a new City Hall police station.
Council Napolitano?
Thank you. Just for those who are not sure what we're looking to do here, one of the things that came out of the Ways and Means Committee when they were reviewing the bond bill was that, you know, we did get a definitive figure that the city is looking to spend $88 million over the next 5 years to convert the old high school into a city hall / police station. And though I'm not questioning the need for a new police station, we definitely do have a need for that. Other things came out in that committee as well, plans for a new fire station. Of course, we also know there's going to be our share of an appropriation for an elementary school. There was a discussion by the mayor about replacing the rec center. You know, ultimately, this is a lot of money. And the thing is that, you know, to be able to borrow that much money over such a short period of time, you know, I think it's important that this is a little over and above our ability to make this decision. Yes, I could vote for this, yes. I could vote for this, no. But, you know, the thing is, I have not had a positive response from anybody out there in the public on this, and that's because their main concern is what happens if something goes wrong. I think it's important in the democratic process to go ahead and put this question before the voters. A couple of months is not going to hurt this project. Okay, before we spend $3 million now to put us on a path that's going to spend significantly more money, let's get the voters' input first. Okay, there's a lot of different factors that come into play here. You know, there's talk about a new fire station. That's not on this piece, but if the administration is talking about it within the next few years and pinging on the needs of the fire department to do that, then we know it's going to occur at the same time. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to refer this to Legislative Affairs so we can have a frank and open discussion on this issue, whether or not we should put this before the voters and let the Legislative Affairs draft an order to put on the ballot. It's well within our guidelines, both the city charter and the state Mass General laws.
Council Mangan?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I certainly respect Council Napolitano's, you know, appreciation to the people to vote on this, but I look at it this a couple different ways, Madam Chairman, is that the people elected us and put us in this position to be their voice. I remember a few years back when all the high school, when they were doing all the bonds and everything else for all the elementary schools and the high school, that was going to be, at that time, that was like the biggest projects ever. The members of City Council, if I'm not mistaken, voted on it. Okay, so that's something that I think we need to take into consideration. The other thing is, we've had the auditor in front of us several times. And from what I've gathered and what I've seen him and what I've seen on the Ways and Means, and I know it come out of there with a favorable recommendation, is that we can afford these projects, okay? In a few years, this thing isn't gonna be bonded for a few years, okay? We're looking at least 4 or 5 years down the road. We know the power plant, this is not even for the people at home watching, this has nothing to do with the wind, counting on the wind. So if the wind flopped tomorrow, we didn't have the wind, we have school debt coming off in a few years. We have the power plant thing coming back on. We have a new hotel going down the Parkway, and I'm sure we have some other new growth coming in. What's going to happen, Market Forge and those things. So when the auditor says to us that we can afford it, I trust him. He's the financial guy, whatever. He's the one that runs all the numbers, and he's telling us in a couple of years, again, this isn't something we're going to be paying for tomorrow, because if that was the case, you know, I would have reservations about it. But this is the thing, because we don't know what construction costs, if we wait on this and wait on this, we don't know what construction costs are gonna be. They're gonna be going up all the time. So I'd say that, you know, I certainly respect his opinion, but I look at it as that the people put us in office to make this decision. And I would like to go ahead and vote on it, either way.
I have a few other speakers. Councilor Simonelli?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I kind of agree. I don't think we need to put this on the ballot. I think the time is now to do this. Why delay something that we really need in the city? And there's not need, we need more of a police station, a city hall, with state of art. You know, we get a casino here. Well, let's have something. Let's have a nice city hall. Get rid of this place, and
No, it's
also.
not. No, it's not.
Okay, no
the
cross
new
debate,
ups-
please.
Wait, I got the floor.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli,
And
yes.
Still, I think that we need this, the police station, everything that, we got that great, that publication that was shown on the screen up there, and that was a great thing. I thought it was a a great presentation. So I'm abiding by, let's vote for it now, and a positive vote for this. It's now, we need to do it, no more delays.
Before
Let's get it.
we continue, I'm sorry, this needs to be amended because it's, according to the charter, section 8-7.
That's that.
You got the wrong thing?
Yeah. it says-
Motion made to amend this from section 8.4 to 8.7.
I have a motion to amend, section 8-4 to 8-7. I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Move for favorable action.
Councilor Napolitano, did you have another question? I'm sorry.
I just wanted to respond to Councilman Mangan's points. Okay, the difference between the school building program, which wasn't a very aggressive building program, the difference being is there was 80% reimbursement on most of the project. This is 100% at the taxpayers, out of the taxpayers' pockets. And the thing is that I would feel more comfortable voting for a project like this if we had the entire picture. When we're told about this, $3 million here gets it started, then we're on a track, and then we're told in the same conversation that there are other projects that are also going to be done. I'd like to see the entire project presented to us, not just one piece. You know, this is a lot of money. One of the things that have gotten a lot of our taxpayers, a lot of our homeowners in trouble over the last 6 years, you know, as many people know, I come from the banking world. I dealt with both the residential and commercial mortgages. And the fact that we had residents not more than 10 years ago borrowing against their equity only to have the market crash, and now they had properties underwater, we're at the same risk here. How are we any different? And if we're borrowing $3 million, you know, I would correct the council and tell them that we are then paying the interest on that. So we are spending money. This isn't something that we can defer. Now, there's a lot involved here. And I would feel more comfortable, first of all, not only getting a bigger picture of the overall plan for not just renovating the high school into a city hall and police station, but also how the other plans, how we're paying for the school, how we're going to pay for a new firehouse. You know, what are we going to do about the rec center? I want to see the whole picture before I go ahead and approve and feel comfortable going on board for something like this. Look, it doesn't matter the fact that we're elected up here to make a decision. That is part of our job, yes. But you know, 20 years ago, I put the question out that the city council that the city government should be reformed. And I was told over and over again that that's you know, people don't want that, people don't want that. And you know what, when it went before the voters, it was an 80% approval. When the Wind project came to the city, it was an overwhelming approval. If people are so confident that the public, the tax-paying public, and I'm referring strictly to the tax-paying public, if their opinion is that this is too much, I want to know that. And I don't want to find that out on Election Day when I get voted out of office for supporting a project that could potentially, and I'm not saying it will, but could potentially put us in a bankrupt type situation. It's great to talk about hotels on the Parkway, but they're not there yet. And they're counting their investment based on the Wind project. We haven't collected one dime yet for Wind. So again, using that as another means of being able to pay for this, we are now talking about borrowing money to spend that we haven't received yet. And though I'm confident that the projects will be approved, I think it's important to put something of this magnitude before the voters. And I don't think it's going to hurt the city one bit by delaying that question 4 months. The election is in November. Excuse me, 6 months. The election's in November. How would you feel if the public comes back and says no? You so confident with your vote at that time? It's important to get the feedback. And you know what? It's great. It looked pretty. I thought it was a fantastic presentation, and the school looks great. But this is a situation of being able to distinguish the difference between what we need and what we want. And I have and when we talk about how little money it would take to bring this building here, deal with the leaks in the roof, the elevator, the heating, the things that we ran into this past winter, we're not talking $88 million. So I think putting it before the voters is within our right to do that, and I think we're acting responsible by giving them a say. Okay, just because they vote us into office doesn't mean that they agree with everything we do. This is a big, massive project with no
money coming in from outside sources to help subsidize it. Let's let the voters decide whether we want to go on that course.
Counselor Hanlon?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just a point that I want to bring up about the $88 million that where the city can't afford it, and the fact that, you know, we have other projects that are coming up. And I just want to say that there are always other projects coming up. They'll be coming up all the time. Just because we know that there's a fire station coming and a school coming and whatever else we know that's coming up, that's not the end of it. Every single year, we're gonna have another project that's coming on, and another one's coming on, and another one's coming on, and it keeps happening all the time. If we think back over the last 40 years, how many projects have happened in this city, there's new projects going on all the time, and they will continue. So the fact that we're gonna say that we want these other things to be included in this program, I don't think it's fair for this one, saying you wanna find out what's gonna happen with the high school and what's gonna happen with the, whatever the other things we said that we were gonna do, for this particular one here. I think if they wanna come in, and they may not come in with these other projects for a while. We don't know when they're gonna come in with the fire station, or the new school.
for 10,
You know, we don't know. So anyway, I just want to bring that up, and the $40 million to fix this building, we will have still an old city hall that's been fixed up for $40 million to do the roof and the cellar and the air conditioning and the mixers, the heat and the air conditioning mixing is in the window. That's big stuff that goes on. It costs a lot of money. We still have this old building. So, we got a school building up there that's much, much older, but it's much, much stronger. And that new building, that old building that we have up there will last longer than that new high school we just built because of the way it's constructed and what it's constructed out of. So, I'm finished.
Move for favorable action?
I have one more speaker, and then I'm gonna ask for the vote. Counselor Sani?
Thank you. Sometimes throwing good money after bad, fixing things over and over is throwing money away. Sometimes we have to make a hard decision, and that's what we're here for. So for us to keep patching is not always good. You know, and right now, it's asking to take, $3 million to move it along, and in a few years, we'll know better where we are, and we can have more to talk about, and then we can see what growth's coming in, and if Wynn's on board, and we start getting some money in, so I believe, this is not a good thing. We are here to make the decisions for our taxpayers, throwing good money away is, I'm not in favor of, doing that.
On
Thank
which
you.
building you talking
I
about?
have a motion. I'm calling for the question. I have a motion on the table to send this committee, and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
All right?
I believe it's a no vote, but I'll take a roll call.
Counselor DeFlorio.
No.
Counselor Hanlon.
No.
Counselor Mangan.
No.
Counselor Marchese.
Yes.
Counselor Napolitano.
Yes?
Counselor Sachetta.
Yes.
Counselor Sani.
No.
Counselor Simonelli.
No.
3 yeas, 5 nays.
3 yeas, 5 nays. The order has failed.
Listen, it's over. The matter's over.
No cross debate, please.
Madam Chairman, please, for etiquette purposes, the piece was over. To get cross debate from my fellow counsel over here because he didn't like the way the vote is unprofessional.
I'm sorry. Let's continue with the agenda, please. And before we continue, I'm sorry. We'd like to wish Counselor Sani a belated happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Item number 3 is an order sponsored by Council Fred Capone as present. Subject to confirmation by the Honorable City Council, I hereby appoint Stephen O'Connor as a permanent member of the Everett Zoning Board of Appeals for a term of 3 years ending April 2018.
Favorable action?
Favorable action. I do have a second. Roll call.
Counsel DeFlorio.
We're supposed to suspend Rule 20, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Could we take a motion to suspend Rule 20, please?
Suspend Rule 20?
Second.
I have a motion to suspend Rule 20. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. I have a motion on the table for favorable action. Roll call vote.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Marchese.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano. Yes. Counsel Sachetta.
Yes.
Counsel Sani.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
8 yeas, 0 nays, Madam President.
8 yeas, 0 nays. You have confirmed.
There's a bunch we're done.
Congratulations.
Madam Chairman,
Item number 4 is an order sponsored by Council Frank Capone as president, petition for an open-air
Yeah, Madam
parking
Chairman,
license
Madam
for
Chairman.
Paul's Towing at 3 Buell.
Question to our city clerk, are the items 4, 5, 6, and 7 in order?
4, 5, 6, 7 are all in order.
Chair, make
So
a
make-
motion we take collectively 4, 5, 6, and 7?
Second.
Have a motion to take items 4, 5, 6, and 7 collectively. All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. The clerk will read
Chairman, I
items
make a
4, 5,
motion
6, and 7.
for favorable action and to include in the new licenses any and all restrictions that have been placed on the old licenses.
Favorable action, and to include all restrictions that have been on the old license to put on a new license.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do they have to be read?
Yes.
Okay.
Petition for an open-air parking license, Paul's Towing 3 Buell. Petition for a junk deal license, Paul Matuccio 366 Second Street. Petition for a junk deal license, M&S Metals 391 Third. Petition for a junk collector license from Wentworth Precious Metals 421 Second Street. Roll call.
Roll call, please. On items.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Sechata.
Yes.
Counsel Sani.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays, Madam Chairman.
7 yeas, 0 nays. You have passed the orders.
Item number 8 is a communication in order, report of the 2014-2015 Charter Review Committee in order CO 146-15 to allow the Charter Review Committee the time necessary to complete a comprehensive review of such charter.
Favorable action.
Accept the
We have to accept
communication.
the communication. Do I have a second? Accept the communication. I do have a second. All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it.
Favorable action.
Favorable action.
Roll call.
Further, yes, the extension.
Favorable action to grant the extension. I do have a second. All in favor?
Not in order.
It's in order.
Oh, so we need a roll call.
Roll call. Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Sechata.
Yes.
Counsel Sani.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays, Madam Chairman.
7 yeas, 0 nays. You have granted the extension.
Item number 13 is resolution sponsored by Council Rosa DeFlorio, Committee on Ways and Means report on a resolution. City of Everett considers offering early retirement incentives similar to what state is proposing, with a recommendation to grant further time.
Make a motion to grant
Could
further
I,
time.
I'm sorry, I don't know if this is, could I just make one, well, that's all right. Grant, I have a motion to grant further time. First,
And accept committee report.
accept the committee report and grant further time. I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Item number 15.
15.
Item number 15 is an ordinance sponsored by Council Michael K. Marquez, combined assistant city clerk position. City Council's administrative assistant position with a recommendation to refer to the city clerk and request that he report back his opinion on the proposal at the first regular city council meeting in May. Which I believe you all got. That was the communication I sent you.
Accept the committee report, refer back to the city clerk for future references, information regarding the combining of these two seats. Or those two seats, or whatever.
All right.
City clerk. Yeah, I accept the communication. It was good detailed, good work, Mike, also on it. Thank you.
So I have a motion to refer it back, to the city clerk.
Place on file.
All right,
Place on file.
Yeah.
place on file.
For the city clerk to place on file. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Item number 16, order sponsored by Council Fred Capone, President, City accept the provisions. Chapter 43D of the Mass General Laws is amended pursuant to Section 11, Chapter 205 of the Acts of 2006, and approved the filing of an application with the Interagency Permitting Board for the designation of land located at 1 Horizon Way.
Favorable action.
Favorable action on the order, and I do have a second. Roll call.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Marquez.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Sechata.
Yes.
Counsel Sani.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
8 yeas, 0 nays, Madam Chairman.
8 yeas, 0 nays. You have passed.
Item number 19.
19.
Item number 19, ordinance sponsored by Council Frank Capone as president. Published ordinance that the revised ordinance of the City of Everett, Massachusetts, hereby amended by modifying section numbers as listed below to read as follows. Section 1-483 is hereby amended by striking out the text of this subsection in its entirety and replace it with the following. A preamble of an explanatory nature stating the reasons and intent for the proposed ordinance of reciting the facts leading to the proposed ordinance.
Favorable action.
When you got a motion?
On the motion, Counsel Simonelli?
Could somebody explain what this thing is?
Sure.
Somebody explain what...
If I may, Madam Chairman?
Sure.
What it means is that when you put in an ordinance or an order, that what will follow before it is basically the whereases that tell you what the ordinance is about. You know, whereas there has been trouble in a certain neighborhood, or whereas this has been happening, therefore be it ordained. That's all it means.
Okay, great, thank you.
Favorable action on the ordinance?
Yes. Counsel
Roll call.
DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon. Yes. Counsel Mangan. Yes. Counsel Marquez.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Sechetta.
Yes.
Counsel Sani.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
8 yeas, 0 nays, Madam Chairman.
8 yeas, 0 nays, you have enrolled. 20.
Item number 20 is an order sponsored by Council Frank Capone as president that a one-year moratorium is hereby placed on the issuance of home occupation permits and letters of permission to Massport for any new livery businesses in the city of Everett. Again, if you want me to explain that.
Counsel Mangan?
Thank you, Madam
could
Chairman. I
we
was just going
please
to ask
have
the
the,
clerk if
city
you could
clerk
explain it
explain?
for the people at home.
Yes, presently, the state, as you know, we had a livery ordinance before us. The state is studying the matter now, and it's going to either pass legislation to either take over all licensing of livery. We just don't know what's happening, and we're studying, myself and, you know, my office is studying what's going to go on with the state. And until that happens, we receive somewhere about, in the last year, 76 people that want to that open livery businesses. We don't know who these individuals are. They're just filing business certificates. And then we give them a letter allowing them to go to Massport, you know, giving them permission to go through Everett because we don't license. And we have no idea who these folks are or anything. And until the state decides what to do, I think we should kind of hold off and study the matter and see what we can do in regard to what the state legislation turns up.
Favorable action.
Counsel Mangan, I'm sorry, any
Thank you.
questions?
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just, Mr. Clerk, just again for the people at home, just so people know, the people that are currently have livery,
Livery,
excuse me, livery things now,
Permits.
they're excluded, correct?
Yes.
All right, just, thank you.
Okay, I have favor, I'm
Wait a
sorry,
minute,
Counsel,
Yeah, on the motion, Madam Chairman, I'd like to ask the city clerk, how many library businesses do we have in Everett right now?
In just the last year, 76 people have taken out, so what happened before then, I don't know. I mean, it could be in the hundreds.
It could
Because
be.
we don't license them, we don't know the exact number.
Now, this is like a private contract. It's
Yes.
not like the taxi.
No,
company.
it's not like a tax.
Because the taxi company needs to be rehabilitated too.
That's
Okay,
right.
thank you.
okay, I have a motion on the table for favorable action, and I do have a second. Roll call?
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Marquez.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Sechetta.
Yes.
Counsel Sani.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
8 yeas, 0 nays. Madam Chairman.
8 yeas, 0 nays, you have passed the order.
Item number 21 is resolution sponsored by Council Leo McKinnon to invite Everett Overcoming Addiction Group to the Committee on Government Operations, Public Safety and Service, including Jean Grelanick and Patty Scalise, to discuss drug addiction.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to lay this on the table to our next meeting, so Councilman McKenna can have an opportunity to speak on this.
I believe he said he wanted to send it to
Invite.
public safety and invite,
That's fine. I mean, I'll withdraw my motion.
Motion made to send to public safety.
Second.
I have motion to send it to public safety. I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. You'll be referred item number 21 to public safety. Actually, it's governments of operations and,
No, you're fine. Item number 22 is an order sponsored by Council Rosa DeFlorio, an order petitioning the Great General Court relative to the to retirement benefits of Police Officer Michael Marchese, retired.
If you don't mind from the chair, this is just a quick to let you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Is it okay for me to say it from the chair, or else I will get up?
As long as you're not debating, you're fine.
Okay.
From the chair's fine.
What this is Officer Marchese retired. He got hurt, he retired, and he got, based on 75% of his pay, because he wanted to work part-time for the other 25%. But when he got his 75% pay, and then he went back to work the other 25%, he was unable to work. He really got hurt very, very bad. So we're requesting the state to give him 100% pension, which he well deserves as a public servant. So that's what this is all about, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to have the city solicitor come up and answer them.
Yes, I'd like to bring up the city solicitor on this, please.
I have a motion to bring the city solicitor up. Colleen Mahia, all in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, for
Could you
appearing.
please state your name for the record?
Colleen Mahia.
This was on the calendar when I was a councilman a couple of years, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but I don't understand why it's on our calendar. Shouldn't the retirement people take care of this? Why do we have to address this?
You did pass a home rule petition, it went to the state, and I think Attorney Rodriguez was working on the second draft. There's a technical change to this most recent, excuse me, to this most recent home rule petition, which was needed, which was recommended by either House Counsel or Senate Counsel.
Well, why is it on the calendar? Why this is?
Because it has, it has to be initiated from the city where he was employed, and you have to ask the state to allow him to collect 100% of his pension. When you retire from accidental disability retirement, when you're hurt, injured on the job, you're entitled to 72%.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Is this happening? It seems like it's just one person. Has it happened, everybody's got the same
No.
benefits of going through this?
No, this is the same individual that you voted a couple of years ago. Yep. But there was a technical change that House or Senate Counsel and the state had recommended that the city make to this petition. And that's why it's back before
Did
you.
the general court make it at 72%, or do you?
The state law says that you get 72%. So that's why, if you approve this, you're asking the state to make an exception for this one individual and give him 100%.
I don't think that's fair. I really don't. I can do with the gentleman, but it's just for this certain person's been here doing it, and I think it's wrong. Everybody else gets 72%, more or less. He got hurt again, but, you know, if the retirement board, everything says he's okay, so 72% is what we always get, so. I would have to, first of all, it shouldn't be on this calendar, I don't think. I don't really want to get into it, but if it's fair for one, it's fair for everybody, so. And I would have to vote no on this. Thank you.
Counsel, in order to have a home rule petition, it has to be on the agenda. That's the rule,
I don't think it should be here.
okay? We only go by the rules, I'm sorry. Any other questions? Counsel Hanlon.
Through you to our city solicitor. I think what was explained to us is this fellow has a 75% disability,
The state law allows for 72%.
72%
Yeah,
disability?
Counselor DeFlorio may have mistakenly
Well,
misspoke.
oh, okay. But
I'm
then-
sorry, yes.
But he was going to work then to get a, would that be a 28%?
I'm not aware of what his plan was for work. I don't have the intimate details of his employment.
Okay, if I may, Madam Chairman, did you say that he was gonna work for 28%?
28%.
Okay, he wanted to get 75% or whatever.
72%, I'm sorry, I misspoke on that.
72% disability and 28% he wanted to work for. Thank you. Okay. So then my question is that he's not 100% disabled then?
Yeah, go ahead.
He was determined by the retirement board that he's disabled from performing the duties as a police officer. He was 100% disabled from performing his duties as a police officer. He could no longer be a police officer, so he was retired due to the injuries that he sustained while working. But under the state law, when you're granted accidental disability retirement, you're entitled to 72% of your earnings. That's the state law.
Any other questions? Councilman Mangan?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Before I make a decision, I would certainly like more information on this in terms of maybe putting it into a committee and then having maybe the personnel director and chief of police and some other people up here, because, I mean, I understand Council Simonelli's concerns and stuff, because when we have to know that if what you were saying was true, if he was able to go and do something for 28%, but now they're saying he really can't do anything at all, I mean, could he sit behind a desk and answer the phones and do work at the station? I mean, I don't know these things, so before I make a determination, and I don't wanna, kill the gentleman here and stuff, but before I make an honest, conscionable decision, I really wanna get some more information on this. I don't have enough to say that, I'd like to get some more facts here. That's just my opinion.
Any other questions for the city solicitor?
Make a motion be excused with the customary thanks.
A motion to excuse customary thanks. What's your pleasure, councilors?
I would like to make a recommendation to send in a committee, chairperson, but I'd defer to you through the city clerk. Which one, Michael, do you know which one would be the best?
That is funny, I mean, legislative affairs, since it is it's a petition to the great general court.
Okay.
Do I have a second on the motion?
Second, for legislative affairs, second.
I have a motion on the table to send item number 22 to administrative affairs, and I do have a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman,
Item 22 to administrative
Madam Chairman,
affairs.
before we adjourn, I'd like to reconsider item number 23, please.
I have a motion to reconsider item number 23. Do I have a second?
Second.
And second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, just as a point of explanation, that this item that we passed for this $88 million was not really a money audit. It was just a resolution to refer this into committee to be studied to see if we wanted to put it on the ballot. So it's not, we didn't pass anything for $88 million, and I think that some of us had the idea that that's what we were doing and that we needed 8 votes to pass it, but it's not true. It's just a resolution, that's all it was, to send it to committee, to study it, to see if we could put it on the ballot. That's all it was.
Okay.
That's all I want to say, so. Make a motion, what was it before? What did we do it before?
For back to sponsor.
The-
Any motion you do.
I mean, did we refer this to
The
committee?
motion was to refer it back to sponsor. It
Okay.
did not pass to go to committee.
All right, so I
Okay.
make a motion and refer it back to sponsor.
I believe that was already passed. I don't believe we have to take another vote on
No,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
we
do.
do.
Oh, we do. So make a motion to
reconsider.
refer item number 23 back to sponsor. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
That's it. Make a motion, we adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Have adjourned.